Hello there, and welcome to the tour of the Dimorphodon class Shuttlepod, the 11th vehicle in my military utility, logistics or transport vehicles series of vehicles. My name is Wimperman and I am the chief designer, chief builder, chief architect and chief dumbass behind the Dimorphodon Shuttlepod project. Now, come out of that view, before I take you around this new vehicle, I do need to show you some stuff up in orbit, one of which is a ship under construction. It will make sense when we get up there, but I want to talk about this guy's shape first. Okay, so here we are at my construction area, and here is the Dimorphodon that was actually built. And I want you to pay attention to this shape. Now, it's shaped like that because I wanted it to be reminiscent of the shape that I've been putting on the sides of, well, actually not just the sides, sometimes the top of my CVs that are part of the MULTV series as well. So the shuttle pod over there is basically that shape. Now, there's also that shape on this ship under construction here. Now, I named it Dimorphodon because that shape sort of gave it a big head, a little bit like my this Pterosaur. I'm such a child. Now, I do need to talk about this real quick as well, the ship that's under construction. So this here is going to be the Commando class orbital assault ship. Now, this was going to be the 11th vehicle in the MULTV series. Now, this is intended to carry around a company of Marines using some of these vehicles to deploy them. So it's designed to carry 3 of my Quetzalcoatlus dropships, which itself is designed to carry these. Now, that Commando class is going to carry 6 of those. And each of these can carry a full section of 8 men, of 8 infantrymen. Also, it's going to be carrying 6 of these giant Marabou dropships, and that itself can also carry 8 infantrymen. And it's going to be carrying a whole bunch of these as well. It's going to be carrying 8 of these, plus 4 of each of the modules that go in the middle. I mean, it's not particularly important, but there are 3 different modules, and it will carry... that's the idea. So, it also has a shuttlebay. Now, when I come to take the screenshots of this ship, I will, of course, be taking screenshots of the shots of the bays empty, but I also want to take screenshots of the bays with the intended auxiliary craft loadout, so it will have these and those and those and those in it as well. But then when I come to the shuttle bay, the MULTV series doesn't have any shuttlecraft. Now, I wanted a shuttle pod and a full-size shuttle in the shuttle bay. Now, my options were to, let's open this again, repaint. So these are part of my Wimpomania series of ships and vehicles, which are yet to be refitted from pre-game launch. That's why you probably won't find them. They are currently hidden, waiting to be refitted. So I could repaint them and pop those in. Of course, the other option was to leave it empty. The other option was to just throw together some mock-up shells that don't actually, can't actually perform, maneuver or anything. Nothing inside, just an empty shell. But I didn't want people going, oh, where can we find those in the screenshots? Where are they? And the other option, of course, was to use other people's shuttles and shuttle pods. I didn't really want to be doing that either. Now, the fact that the T of MULTV stands for transport, and there's no getting around or arguing against the fact that shuttlecraft are transport ships, might as well put a couple in the MULTV lineup. Now, one There is, like I said, those two in the Wimpermania lineup. There is also, I'm going to be doing a winged insect series as well at some point, based on some of the ships I built in Space Engineers. Well, that will have a shuttle pod and a full-size shuttle as well. So I figured doing the MULTV ones as well will give a nice kind of selection of choice, which is why I'm doing it now. On top of that, so you may have noticed, I haven't been releasing tour videos for a while, and that's just simply because this massive thing is taking so long. So doing these two shuttlecraft, the shuttle-pod and the full shuttle, is kind of a nice breakup of doing this. Oh, I left the doors open. That was obviously me seeing if I could get the Dimorphodon in. Right. Oh, and I do want to point out real quick that obviously this shape doesn't land very well. I've put a folding landing gear on the back. It does sort of compromise the shape a little bit, but you know, needs must. Okay, so now we're back on the planet's surface. I will take you around this new vehicle, starting with its role and its task equipment. Right, so as a shuttle pod, its role is a very short range two-person transport. Now, to its task equipment, to facilitate that task, it has 2 seats for the 2 people and the thrusters. Now, it might actually be more beneficial to say what it doesn't come equipped with in order to be a shuttle pod. So, a shuttle pod is a type of snub-craft that relies on a mother ship to carry it around. As a result, it has no warp drive. It also has no shields. It doesn't have any weaponry. It doesn't have anything in the way of equipment. Now, to be fair, full disclosure, I did originally give it both a headlight and an armor locker in the middle of the cockpit there. But unfortunately, because of the way the game is programmed when you get out of seats, instead of putting you, say, there on that block space or behind, it kept putting me here and actually in there. And then, of course, with those blocks there, it wasn't able to get out. So, never mind. It also doesn't have things like I said, it doesn't have an armor locker. It also doesn't have things like the O2 station and a constructor. Nothing like that, I'm afraid. That's what the landing gear looks like when it's actually landed. Now, when you dock to a ship, you can actually dock flat using just the docking pads. But that's there when you land on the surface of a planet with no blocks to dock to, because you're not actually docked to the ground, so it's just there for balance. Right, that's the end of that segment. The next segment then is its propulsion, handling and lift capacity. So, starting with its forward thrust, I'm not going to bother turning them on for an SV at the moment. So, it has 2 medium tier 1s and 2 smalls for forward thrust. It has 2 medium tier 1s for a braking and reverse, 2 medium tier 1s for lateral thrust on each side. It has 4 smalls for downward thrust, and it has 4 medium tier 1s for lift. And then that's it. No max lift, no RCSs, no a head full or a head flank or anything like that. This is a simple, small shuttle pod, so nothing like that. Right, so handling. Oh, yeah, I do need to turn the thrusters on for that, otherwise these all stay 0. So, starting with its maneuverability, and we have 43 meters per second squared acceleration in the forward direction, 30 in the braking and reverse. There is 30 also in the lateral, 26 pushing down, and 60 for lift. Then for its agility, we have 58 degrees per second yaw, 65 pitch, and 49 roll. So not terrible. Shall I give it a little test flight? No, I want to talk about its lift capacity first. So, this vehicle can operate in up to 6G. Now, in 4G, those four medium tier 1 thrusters will lift 17.3 tons. The vehicle itself weighs 11.4, so you've got around about 6-ish tons-ish to lift. 5.9-ish actually, something like that. Now, let's give it a quick test flight. So, this is how it handles even with pilot mode off. Like I said, it's small, so it's fairly manoeuvrable. Max speed, as you can see in atmosphere, is the best speed, of course, 69. I think in... oh, actually, let's just go up. I think it's 130 up in space. There we go. So 129, one short. Where's my flattish there? Right then, so that's the end of that segment. The next segment then is its power, fuel and air. Now, as usual with my tours, I will show you where this stuff is when I show you the interior, but for now I'm just going to talk about it. So power is a single small power generator. Fuel, 5 small fuel tanks. Fuel and air, so 1 ventilator and 3 small O2 tanks. Actually, I don't think there's any large, is there, on an SV? So 3 O2 tanks. 1 compartment is the cockpit. And then that's it. So the next segment then is its weapons, defences and construction. So its weapons, as I said earlier, it is unarmed. Defences, well, it doesn't have a shield and it's not armoured either. Although it is a military craft, it doesn't have any armour, really. Construction, so for those of you who aren't new to my tours, you might recognise I've started to do this recently, and that is an unpainted version, so you can see what it's made from. So it does have a structural frame of hardened steel, and I have put some hardened steel plates around the thrusters. Obviously it's quite vulnerable from the side, but I couldn't really do much about that unless I wanted it to be 2 blocks wider, which I didn't. And the rest is simply steel. So it's steel and hardened steel, and there's a small amount of carbon copper, for Pete's sake. Oh no, this is an unpainted one, isn't it? Did I paint? Yeah, good, right. I don't know why I got worried about missing texture on one that isn't textured. Herder. Right, so there we go, that's the end of that segment. So the next segment is also going to be fairly quick. Resource gathering, production and storage. So resource gathering, it has none. Production, it has none. Storage, it has a single 1K SU cargo container. There's the controller of that there, and you can see, other than the ventilator, it is surrounded by the extenders. And it just so happens that 8 blocks makes 1,000, which is kind of cool. It works out nicely. So the next segment then is its interior layout and any remaining devices. So before I go inside, I'll talk about the any remaining devices on the outside. So the ramps and the doors are all manual. So to operate the ramps, it's best to interact with the front one. And I'll explain why later on, but if you interact with the rear one, it won't do both at once. It does have some registry displays. If you can be bothered, you can change that number to be a number that means something to you, or is the number of, say, if you're the 10th person to subscribe to it and you have 8, then you might want to number it 10 to 18, for example. Of course, nobody's going to know that you've got 18, so there might be multiple 11s, but it doesn't really matter. That's its kind of registry number. Now, this is the full registry here, and for those who care, I'm going to go through this real quick. Wimpo Manufacturing, Transport Shuttlepod is its type. Then, of course, MULTV is the Military Utility Logistics Transport Vehicle series. This is the 11th vehicle. in that series, the 11th class, and then you would put the number of the vehicle of that class that yours is there, where the other number symbols is. Now there is another one on top, but this one is slightly different. Again, if you can be bothered, no one's going to care or know if you can't. So this one would be the registry of the vehicle that you are attached to. So if, for example, so that Commando class up in orbit that I showed you would be the 13th. So this would be MULTV11. I'm not sure it needs all of those, you know. No, it doesn't, actually. Give me a sec. I just realised it doesn't need all of those. All of those number symbols. I was wrong, because I'm a moron. It does need them all. And I will explain that now. Yeah, that's about right. So, yeah, if this is being carried by a Commando class, then that would be MULTV13. If it's being carried by the 10th Commando class, then this would be 010. And then this is the second Dimorphodon class on board, then that would be 02. Right, so what else to show you? So behind here is access to the O2 tanks, in case you want to interact with them manually. The fuel tanks are there, and matching one on the other side. Now, as with all of my ships, it does come fully light regulation compliant. So you can see it has a running light on top that shows any observer that it is powered. It has the nav lights, the red on the port, the green on the starboard, and the white on the stern, that shows any observer which way it's facing. Now, the illuminated panels you can see are the formation lights. They help you fly in formation, especially in low visibility with other craft. It has, oh, by the way, I will show you all of these when it comes to the signals and shortcuts. So it also has some flight strobes for its anti-collision that can help with visibility. Then it has the anti-collision beacons. It has a red one on top and a yellow one underneath that show any observer that the thrusters are powered and it could move. Anything else on the outside? The detector, that's normally inside, but on this one it's not. I've already shown you the docking pads and the landing gear, so that's it for any remaining devices on the outside. Not much on the inside, to be honest. There's a light switch for that light, in case you didn't believe me. And there is the LCD projector for the shortcuts and signals HUD display thingy, which will lead me on actually to the shortcut. Oh no, hang on a minute. I didn't show you back here, did I? So, in behind here we have the 3 O2 tanks. Behind the controller is the wireless connection. So behind the O2 tanks is the generator and the 5 fuel tanks. And then right in the back is the core, so that it's easy to kill. So there you go, that's everything. So now I will move on to the shortcuts and signals, using that holo display to, well, kind of transition on. So as usual, we have a propulsion switch as the first device group shortcut. That will turn on all of the thrusters and the anti-collision beacons. So there's the blinky red one on top, yes, and there's the blinky yellow one on bottom. In case anyone cares, by the way, NASA currently has a yellow nav light on its ventral section, on the ventral sections of its spacecraft. I figured that I think this game is set in roughly the 2470s, based on one of the medical entries in the, what's it called, the Empyrion. Of course you don't get it in the creative, but I figured by then that maybe the bottom yellow one would have sort of morphed into another anti-collision beacon. So of course, if you don't like those anti-collision beacons, the flashy flashes, you can obviously just use the thrusters switch. Or if you like to have this one so because you want a keybind to turn them on and off, you can of course change the anti-collision beacon shortcut to nothing. Next then is the ventilators, so the air vents. So I will go through this real quick just in case you haven't seen a tour of mine where I talk about it. So if we turn off the oxygen, you will see that the power left doesn't change, because although it's no longer blowing air into the cockpit, it doesn't actually turn the actual ventilator block off actually. So I have given you an air vent switch so that you can turn off that block and it will save a bit of power. It's kind of ridiculous really how much power that uses, but there you go. The last one in the device groups is the ground lights. Shut up. So next to the door there is a little light that's set to light grey, a light grey light that's light grey. So that turns those on and off. Then to the custom signals, we have the power save switch as usual at the top. Now on this one it doesn't do a lot, so it turns off that passenger seat, it turns off that LCD, it also turns off all of the registry displays LCDs, and it turns off the Wi-Fi, which is down there. Yep, that's everything. So next is the nav lights. So again, you can leave these off if you don't like them, but it turns on the red on the left, the white on the stern, on the aft, and the green on the right lights. For realism, the flight strobes, I mean, I would have liked them to have been automatic, but we can't do this in this game. But it's that one there and the matching one on the other side that gives you that bright white flash. And finally is a closed door / ramps switch, and this is, by the way, why when you operate this one the other one will go, but when you operate that one the other one doesn't, is because this one is currently set to that signal. And what that means is if you leave any of these open, including these, and then you get into the pilot seat and then you go into your third person view, you notice them open. I didn't want you to have to get out of the seat to close them all again. So if you flick that switch, they will all close. Ta-da and ta-da. And they will only close, they won't open again. Right, that's the end of that segment. So the next and last segment is its CPU and upgrading. So it is a tier 1 CPU vehicle. It currently uses just shy of 3200 CPUs out of the 6000 you are allowed, so there is a bit to play with. Upgrading, so there's not technically an upgrade path included in the ship, however that doesn't mean you can't personalize it. For example, I have purposely left this 3x3 roof space clear so that you can pop a turret on it if you wish. I'm not sure where you would put an ammo box, but I'm sure some of you are clever enough to figure out a place. On top of that, so if you need 2 seats and you don't like this view because of that big beam there on the right hand side, you could, in fact, if you wanted to, put some diagonal windows there if you would like. I'm sure I don't need to show you, but just in case someone doesn't know what I mean, you could, if you wanted to, do that and get a better view. Obviously, you could do it on the other side as well. And something that I would probably do if I was using the vehicle, it would mean moving that LCD. But, I mean, I would be okay with that. You just copy what's in it and then move it to somewhere else. But what I would probably do is tear out both seats, put the actual pilot seat in the middle, so that you get a slightly better view that's more similar to that. Yeah, and then obviously the LCD would need to go somewhere around here, and then you've got some space there for maybe, like I said, the armor locker and the ammo box and a fridge or something, maybe, and a slightly better view. Of course, then it would be a one-person shuttle pod, but there you go. Right, before I let you go, I do have one more thing to talk about, and that is its paint scheme. So the palette I have given you comes with 4 primary colours, as is the case with all of the multi-Vs. Now, as you can tell, it comes in the khaki tan colour, but it also comes with this camouflage green, this ever so slightly blue light grey, as proven, and this ever so slightly blue dark grey, again proof. Now, there is one more thing to do, like I usually do. I like to do it when I do my tours, especially with a new vehicle, is I like to publish it on camera. It is airtight, so there we go. Like I've always said, I don't really know why I like to do it. I just know that I do like to do it. I think it's because it helps you feel like you're part of the process or something. Right, so there we go. That'll be the end of the tour of the Dimorphodon Shuttlepod. Thank you very much for taking an interest in it. I hope you get some use out of it, and hopefully I will see you in another video for a different build. So thank you again, and goodbye.